So here is an example of a finished, and again, pardon my sick voice. Here is an example of a finished boombox. And that's where you are going to, of course, yours could look radically different, but the nuts and the bolts are still the same. We're going to file, and we're going to create a new document. And we're going to go with just a normal letter size document that will print up on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And then we're going to go ahead with our rectangle tool right over here on our toolbar. When you grab your rectangle tool, you're going to go ahead and you're going to click and you're going to drag it for whatever the shape is. When you're done, if you actually hit the V tool, the letter V on your keyboard, you're actually able to move it into place. Okay, so you can kind of drag it and then just move it wherever you would like it. I click off of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create the other parts that are needed for this particular image. So I'm going to go ahead and create a handle. And again, I can go ahead straight away and I can start creating the center portion. If I don't like the positioning of that, I'm going to hit the V key. I'm going to move it around. I can also resize it at that point in time. Circles. You're going to go ahead to your ellipse tool. You're going to go ahead and hold the shift key down. You will notice that these green lines come up as you are intersecting something from that's already on your artboard. So these are called your artboards, okay? So I'm going to hold that shift key, and that will give me a perfect circle. If I don't hold the shift key, that's when I get more ellipse shapes. So that shift key will help make sure I get a circle. And I'll hit the V key because I want to go ahead and move it into place. Now this is where we get a little bit fancy, and I'm going to Control plus to zoom in. I want to make sure that you all see your pen tool. And your pen tool is where you're going to start to do a drawing. This is where you need to follow some very specific instructions. So again, I can actually find center with that green line. When I put it in the right location, actually I can find the center of that circle. I can click there one time, and then when I come up to the side of my heart, remember this is going to be that heart. When I come up to the side, instead of just a click, I'm going to click and I'm going to hold the click. And when I hold and drag out, I get these handles. It's almost like handlebars where you're driving your bicycle. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to curve that in the direction I would like it to be curved. When I'm happy with it, I go ahead and let go of that click. I then go ahead and click one time at the top of my heart and hold. And again, I'm going to be very picky on that one. I probably won't drag that one at all. It already gave me a good curve. And then I'm going to click one more time as it intersects with the center. That will be my center heart. This one I am going to click and drag. When you pull that handle out a little bit, you might find that you'll get a little bit better of a smooth transition. So that is the end of mine. I'm going to go ahead and Alt and, oh, wait a minute, hold on. So at the stage of that last one, I can go ahead and escape out. I can go ahead to my V tool, and I'm going to Alt and drag another version of it. Okay. When I go to Object, I can then transform, and then I can reflect it, and that's where I'm going to flip this guy. I'm going to reflect it on the horizontal, on the vertical, so that the left side of the heart becomes the right side. And there it is right there. Oh, wait a minute. We didn't get a duplicate. Wait. Let me reflect that one. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move these into place, and I'm going to form that heart. Now take a look. These two hearts are still separated. Let's be cheeseball. These two hearts must become one. For the two hearts to become one, I'm going to hold the Shift key down. I'm going to click on the first one, Shift, click on the second one, and then I'm going to right click and say join. Those will now become one. The two hearts have been united. Okay? By holding the Shift key again, I can grab both the heart and the circle. And then I'm going to Alt and drag the, oh, nope, didn't do it, sorry. There we go. Alt, and I'm going to drag a copy of it down this way. Notice I can keep them aligned in the same way with that green line. If I zoom back out, oh, there we go. I don't know what happened there. All right, so these are all aligned now, and I've got my duplicates. Okay, I think this one is too low. Let me grab these both. Again, that shift key is really important, so keep that shift key held when you need to grab multiple items to move as a group. Okay, so at this stage in time, you now should have almost everything as part of your boom box. I'm going to go back to my rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and draw in, I don't know, maybe I'll make it about that big. And there I go. This particular image is drawn. You've got paths now. So each of these is a path. So at this stage, you're going to go ahead and make sure that you've got all these pieces. And then we're going to go ahead and learn how to fill those images in and how to make a handle by using a transform tool. Okay. So as we go into each, if I go ahead and I go to my select tool, which is V, and I select my boom box, I can now look at my fill right here. And I can look at my outer stroke. So again, as I come into here, the fill is what goes on the inside of this object. The stroke is the outer outline. Do you have to have an outline on your object? No, you do not. How do you get rid of your fill or your stroke? Right here by saying none. Let's say I don't want any fill in there, or I don't want an outer stroke. I click on that and I select no outer stroke. I'm going to go ahead and put in a fill color. I like to go over here to these presets. You also can go ahead and slide on something in here, and you can give it sort of whatever color scheme you want. You can see right now, if I click off of that, it's a pink box. That's it. There will be nothing else with it. So it is important that you understand. If I want an outline, I'm going to click on the outer stroke right here. And again, it looks just like a box with that gray center. That helps you remember. So that's the one in the foreground. I'm now going to change the color of the outer stroke to a black. It's got a very thin black line on this now. Sorry, I forgot to select the object. It's got a very thin line on it right now of black. You can see that. If I select that path again, I can actually increase right up here. I can increase that outer stroke right here. I can also look and I can sort of give an edge to it where you can see where it starts, it got really, really skinny, and where it ends, it gets wider. It's uniform. I could give a sketchy look to it, which is a really cool look. Okay, and give it a little bit of an artful feel, so it doesn't have to be a super hard edge. I'm going to keep mine really basic and standard, though, for this sake, okay? So again, I select my object. I'm going to make sure that I change my settings. Always make sure that you select the object, because that's the number one thing you're going to forget. You're going to change something, and you're not going to have it work because you forgot to select your object, okay? So at this stage, I'm going to show you in the center. You can actually go ahead when you select your object. Again, I'm on my selection tool, which is the letter V. I can also put in, there's like little custom patterns inside here. There are some gradients already. Let's say I wanted to add that in there as my pattern. I can also put an outer stroke, and let's say I want to make that a little bit bigger, a little bit more manageable looking. Okay. Same thing goes here. If I select my circle, I'm going to go ahead in my outer fill or my inside fill. I'm going to put a gradient in there. You can see that gradient is actually really cool. You can change that gradient a lot. Those of you who are a little bit more advanced in here, what you can do is you can select your gradient tool over here. You could actually change your color. I'm going to go ahead and make it a blue. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and let's say I'm going to fade this in a little bit more or a little bit less. Maybe I want it less, like a little bit more airbrushy. I can kind of mess around with that. If you don't have that gradient tool showing, you go up to Window and you click on Gradients, and that will come up. Okay? So that will give you that radial gradient. But let's say you want a different type of gradient inside of here. You want more of a linear gradient. What you can do is you can actually come in there, you go ahead and apply a gradient in there. And in here, let's say I decide I want to pick I click. I'm going to pick another blue. Okay, I'm going to add that blue in there. And let's say I want to do something more linear. Or I can go into a few of these presets. I know that looks heinous, but I could come up here and I could actually change those colors out. And continue on the route of, something that'll match a little bit more with my particular image, okay? Now, when I have something that I like, in terms of the gradient fill behind that heart, what I will probably do is actually reduplicate that heart instead of trying to find a fill that matches it. And then there we go, okay? So that's an example of that, and I can then put an outer stroke on there a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, or maybe not at all. I make that decision, okay? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and delete that heart. I hit the delete key on my keyboard. I'm going to go ahead and select this one, and I'm going to Alt, and I'm going to drag a copy of it over. Got it nice and centered. Now I notice that this is now in front of my heart. So I may need to right-click, arrange, and I might need to send that backwards. If it still doesn't work properly, what I'll do is I'll click on what I want to arrange and bring to front, and then we're good to go. I can then go ahead and shift, hold those together, move those in place, and I'm good to go there. So again, those are some of the basics in filling. I don't want to fill those hearts. I'm sure you can figure that out. But this is the last thing I really wanted to show you, how to add that handle in. If I make that handle black, you can see it's a solid handle, which becomes a problem because that handle should have a hole in it. I go back to my rectangle tool. I'm going to go ahead and subtract out a selection in here. So I'm going to grab this selection right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and hold the Shift key, and I'm going to grab both of them. I go over to this little guy here called Transform. And if this Transform is not showing, again, go up to Window, look for Transform. Transform, and I'm going to go ahead to my Pathfinder. In here, I can minus what's in front. So I can pretty much cut a hole in that shape that I have in the background. So I'm going to minus what's in front. You can see that it actually deleted that. So my new path for the shape looks like, looks like that. That's my brand new path for that shape. Okay? So again, those are just some tips and tricks for you. The last thing would be your text, which is pretty self-explanatory. If you've ever used text on Photoshop before or any other program, you can go ahead and create your text box. You can go ahead and start doing your typing in there. You can go ahead and change out your character right here with your character menu. I can upsize that. I can change out the font style. And I can also come over here and I can center it. There are a lot of other options when it comes to putting your text in that we will kind of discuss later on, but these are the basics for it. Again, you should have a completed piece. Let me go ahead over here. You should have a completed piece. Let me just toss a little color in there. That gives you a rough, good, I would say a good start. I just put it in isolation mode, by the way, when I double clicked on it. Don't freak out if you do that. You can go ahead and just double click off of it, and you now have your entire piece remaining. So outer stroke, I think last thing, outer stroke does not need to be black. Outer stroke could be any color you want. So please realize that you do have that option to change that out. So again, that gives you a good rundown. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and you guys should be ready to go.